So
What
do
was
clothes make a culture? I think that's kind of the challenge statement here.
they certainly have a part. They're a statement, a small statement about who the culture is. You can tell a lot when you walk into a building and see how people are dressed. So.
Hey, Lauren, how are you?
All right, Lynette, I'm here in Edmonton, and I'm hoping that one day we will have spring. As you know, Edmonton has seasons are winter and a little bit of fall, a little bit of spring, and a little bit of winter.
Yeah.
A lot of winter, so gee whiz.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day here in Toronto, and looking forward to kicking off this morning. Thank you for getting up so early to record our vlog before our workday starts.
I know I went to bed in my tie and my shirt.
I was going to bring that up, and actually that's a whole lead into our whole session today. So Lauren, what's with the tie? I do not think I've seen you in a tie probably in a good 6 or 7 months. So what's up?
Yeah, and you know that it's I'm going to the mayor's lunch today with 1,000 other of his friends, so I thought I would kind of spruce up a little bit. And you know, it kind of when you were teasing me about it, we were talking about culture and clothes, and that it's all the small things that make up what people understand a culture is. And in some cases, industries have had culture and, have been kind of had a cultural component to it. Certainly organizations have, and their clothes are a definition of one small one, but a definition. And I'm curious around what's happened over the years that you and I have been working in. And I was in the Seattle area living there when Microsoft in some ways started this whole jeans trend. Right.
Casual Friday trend.
And Microsoft was casual everywhere. And when you think about it from a cultural point of view, they had developers working 24/7, right? Microsoft started the first kind of food that was available for everybody. You know, it was shocking to walk into a campus at Redmond building and see, this refrigerator that was open for everybody to go and take anything. And of course, part of that was, hey, you're working 24/7, so let's make it comfortable for you to be here. And of course, that's been extended, and clothes have been part of that. So I just thought it might be fun that to get our audience to be thinking about, observing about that. So maybe we could just
clothes and culture.
Clothes
that's
and
what
culture.
We're talking about. So do clothes make a culture? I think that's kind of the challenge statement here.
They certainly have a part. They're a statement, a small statement about who the culture is. You can tell a lot when you walk into a building and see how people are dressed. So maybe we just do a little bit of time traveling. What was it like when you were starting at work?
Oh my God, it does remind me of like when I became a general manager for private banking, but way back in the day. And literally, Lauren, I do not think I would ever wear a suit that was even mix and match. Like my jacket had to match my skirt. Like I very rarely wore trousers. And and nylons and closed-toe shoes. Like I think about that now, and some days I go in and to work and I'm getting dressed for work and I think, oh God, is this a little bit too casual? But if I dress in a suit, the first thing people ask me is, am I going for a job interview?
It's so crazy.
And even what about you back in your day?
Well, it was like when I first when I got out of graduate school, I was I was negotiating collective agreements for a contractors association, and it'd be unheard of to not be in a suit and tie. All the contractors when they came to our organization dressed up in a suit and tie, and we went to our collective bargaining sessions, both the union guys and we all had suits and ties. It would have been unheard of. And of course, even as long as a short a time ago, when I got to ATB, which was in 2012, for the first couple of years, Lynette, all we did was wear suits and ties.
I know.
And then there was this flashover period. And I don't even know how it happened. It just sort of like one day, we never wore suits and ties before and anymore. And we had.
Does it make a difference though, Lauren? Like, like, I don't know, I kind of think like when we were talking about maybe having this as our conversation today, I thought, you know what, I don't know, like, do I do better work because I'm dressed up? Like, I don't think so. I think I do great work even sitting at home in my pajamas.
Well,
So like what does it really do for the culture? Like that was sort of the thing for me about this topic. Why are we even talking about this? Like what makes the difference?
well, let's take, for example, a hockey club. Let's just examine cultures by taking a look. Let's take a look at a hockey club.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a cultural thing in the NHL. We'll use the NHL as an example. When those players are traveling, they got to be in suits and ties.
And if I can interrupt you real quickly, I mean, I'm watching Cherry all the time, and he over the finals, the hockey right now, and he's always highlighting the different the vests that the boys are wearing. So he's really into that too as well. So it's interesting that you're bringing that up.
Yeah, and when you watch kids that are 9 and 10 in select teams, and they travel in their province, and for those of our American audiences, I don't think it's too different for you in your select teams either. They dress in jackets. Like 10 years old, they have jackets.
Yeah, Carter. That's it. We had to go get him a whole pal suit.
Yeah, so it's a whole cultural kind of thing. And let's look at an airline, okay? So if you're flying on any airline, how would you feel if your pilot kind of walked in kind of in Carhartt and torn up jeans and would it? Now, if you're flying a bush plane into the middle of Alaska to go fly fishing, I don't think it matters, but I think it kind of does, right? Because there's it evokes kind of discipline and and a sense of orderliness, and you kind of have a feel. The guy dresses up in that because it's got a military history to it, right? They're going to do the checklist. Do you think there's a good chance, right? And when you fly the little plane between Edmonton and Lethbridge, and the co-pilot looks like he's 12 years old, and he gets out and hands you chocolate bars between the, during the flight. Well, there's a whole different kind of experience you have about it, right? You don't, you can, Anyway, my point is that look at McDonald's. They have. I don't think they would let their people serving dress in every way they wanted to, because I think it would give you a feeling of, whoa, because I think one of their big C's originally was cleanliness, and that was part of it, right? You're going to get fast food, but it was going to be given by someone who was, they were from the secondary labor market, but they were there to serve you, kind of in this whole atmosphere. Some organizations, there's one in Seattle, and just the name escapes me. So this is why all the Microsoft thing is going on, Lynette. To this day, you cannot not wear a tie. They're they have big distribution centers. They're a big distribution deliveries supply system. And you think of anything, they'd be casual. Everybody from the warehouse up, ties. And you don't go visit them if you're going to talk to them. Like, don't you ask when you go to a client, like, what's the dress kind of? I do.
Yeah, no, I do too. And to be honest, I feel like there's a time and a place for it. So, I mean, I think for me, when I'm going to have a session at an organization where I'm facilitating a session, for sure, I dress differently. I dress a little more sort of, with the suit and then, but if I'm going to if I go into the office and I don't have a lot of interaction with people, I know I'm going to be just doing more sort of heads down work, I tend to dress a little more casually. But I think that there is a psychological connection to the way you feel, and then maybe perhaps sort of what you're producing just based on sort of the way that you got ready in the morning. So maybe that's kind of where you're going with this.
So let's explore that, and let's engage our audience in this. If we're starting up a company,
mm-hmm.
and the company was a technology company, and we were, would it really matter that much what would be our dress code for our culture? What would you wear? What would you and I walk in wearing, do you think?
I'd probably walk in with probably a pair of jeans, a shirt, and probably a suit jacket.
Yeah, and if we were recruiting people,
I would up that, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe like if I were recruiting someone, and I really wanted some top-notch developers around, I might actually have my jeans with my holes in them and a t-shirt and and no socks and a pair of loafers. And because I would want them to think that they're coming into that kind of an environment. Now, if you and I started a fashion,
actually, I'm going to just hold on to that for a second, because I don't know if I would appreciate that. Like I think there's that psychological piece of it where if I was coming in, and I'm not a developer, but I have worked with a lot of them, and in my mind, I want to come in and see that, this is a serious shop, and I wouldn't want you to be kind of the same as me, like kind of, and I don't know, it's really an interesting.
But, and that would be kind of a discussion around what would we want our culture to look and feel like, and and we're talking about clothes now, but it's everything. Like, what does it feel like when you walk in the door? Like if I walk in the door of, and I'm going to just slightly change the subject to make the point. When I first walked into the LA Kings Hockey Club and they were near bankruptcy, when you walked in the door and their offices in the basement of the LA Forum, which many of you will have to Google, well before Staples Center, it looked like they were bankrupt. It looked like it. It was dirty, and the boardroom was filled with crap all over the place, and old trophies and bent pictures, and when I first walked into another organization that a lot of their businesses was in refurbishment, like they refurbed computer devices. It had a similar kind of feeling to it, and I put a lot of attention to housekeeping when I got there. Just because we're refurbishing and repairing devices doesn't mean we should look like, the back of a beat up old garage. And if you walk if you're going to get your car fixed, even though it's going to cost you for it, don't you have more confidence when you walk into a garage that's really clean and well kept?
Totally. And so I think it's everything. So it's clothes, it's environment, it's the way people are walking around, it's the way people have their desks set up. It's everything. So and
what we're arguing with the audience is be observant about it and be intentional.
Of the environment, and be observant of how people are responding and reacting, and what is their sort of posture, if you will, like in the organization. So.
Yeah, like in the organization right now, and I understand there's a reason for this, and I just joined them. To go into the executive offices, you have to go through 2 locked doors to get there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going. And
this where you're working now.
Yeah, and I'm not being critical. It's beautiful offices and things, but it's hard to. And I think in some cases in post-secondary now, because frankly these horrible shooting incidences, which just happened last night, again in Colorado, I think that post-secondary institutions, all learning institutions have put some protocol in place, to make it
safety
for safety reasons. But what happens is that you're trading off accessibility, and I don't know if that's good. And I'm going to be reflective and think about that. So I think they're just important things, and I think sometimes what happens is that I'd rather people be intentional about it. But if all of a sudden you just sort of things just change and you just are, and it just evolves, like I wonder, don't you wonder sometime when people fly in airplanes, we're old enough to know, certainly I am, that when Pan Am first started flying, you have a picture of those flight attendants in their blue pillbox hats and uniforms? Does that evoke a picture for you of airlines?
Yeah, and even when back in the day, if you were flying, you actually dressed up for it, and you don't anymore.
That was my point. I mean, I see people coming on a flight, and I go, honest to God, like, when was the last time you even showered? Let alone, it's like,
Well, let's hope they have. All right, Laura. Well, thanks. This has been a great conversation. Let's take it home. So, just some insights for people to be just thinking about. Just some of the soft things that we want our listeners to think about. Just how do you get up every day? What do you put on to make you feel good about the work that you do? To show up at work in a positive light, add to the contribution or add to the culture. What else, Lorne? Be
observant around. Be a cultural anthropologist. It's kind of fun. like, ask yourself, why do they wear and why, and what does that mean? And just have fun doing it, from, your local burger place to a retail shop you might go into, to the medical, in any environment. And it'll tell you something about who they are. And
yeah, that's very true. It'll tell you something. Yeah, exactly. So.
And then if you're visiting anywhere, remind yourself, and I've learned this a couple times painfully, if you're going to show up and you want to be respectful, know what they're wearing.
Yeah, know what the other culture is wearing. Yeah, for sure.
It's not about you. It's about showing up and being respectful to them. I think that's my thought.
Well, Lorne, thank you very much. You look great in the tie today. Good luck at the lunch.
Yeah, thank you, Lynette. And always great spending time with you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Lorne. Bye. Good night.